Savage Dragon 136 from June of 2008. Prism Riot. Just now getting that pun as I say it aloud. So part 2 of the crossover with the graphic fantasy hero and his friends, the Centurions. Prism versus Dragon in this issue. There's a word balloon on the cover that includes a typo here. Prism has gone berserk, the Centurions are down, and I'm the only on who can save Seattle from annihilation. Kind of forgot the E on the 1 there. I didn't notice that until somebody called it out in the letters page because I'm a terrible proofreader. All right, let's get into this on. Starting with the credits, Erik Larsen, writer, artist, colorist. We've got 2 letterers here, John Workman and Tom Warzakowski, leaving Josh Eckhorn, waxing and milking all y'all's square heads. All right, B-boys and B-girls, let's read this recap up here verbatim. Previously in Savage Dragon, Dragon went into Seattle in search of the power broker under the assumption that his wife sought him out prior to her disappearance. He met Seattle's local heroes, Prism and the Centurions, confronted the power broker and a mess of his superpowered minions. Back home, She-Dragon got into trouble of her own as she leapt into action to save a girl from being accosted by a number of monstrous-looking goons. All right, so that's where we start off in this story. Prism attacks, though She-Dragon attacks would be a more appropriate title for the opening splash page here. Amy diving headfirst into the action, dodging bullets in an attempt to rescue this blonde lady here. Some fans thought that this was Dragon's missing wife, Jennifer, but no. This lady is named Belinda Bell. We'll have more on her later. Classic double-page splash from Larsen here. My favorite way to start off a Savage Dragon comic. Action on the title page, followed up by even more on the next. Always a cool opener. So these mutated freaks are the Uglies Unlimited. And they were in the middle of kidnapping Belinda Bell when She-Dragon foiled their plans, letting their target escape. So this was no random crime. Belinda Bell is the heiress to the Belco Chemical Company. Her father, Melvin Belco, owns the chemical plants that have poisoned the water supply, turning these guys into hideous monsters. So Uglies Unlimited were going to hold Belinda hostage, publicly exposing the nefarious chemical company somehow. And these dudes are pissed that their prize has eluded them. So now they knock out She-Dragon and take her hostage instead. To be continued. Back in Seattle, the power broker showed up at the end of last issue, and now a scrap breaks out. Dragon and Prism and the Centurions all fighting the power broker and his goons. Some nice lettering on this page. It's 2 of the best letterers on this issue, so it's not surprising. You know, Tom Warzakowski and John Workman doesn't get much better than that. Anyway, Prism, he maybe gets knocked out here with the blast to the face. And this setup's pretty funny. So, Dragon versus the power broker. Our hero avoids the grip of the villain, plants his hands into a wall, and then gets down to brass tacks here. It's time to end this once and for all and do what he came to do. Power broker is helpless. He thinks he's about to meet his maker, and he's like screaming, "No, no!" And Dragon just pulls out a photo of his wife and asks, "Have you seen this woman?" And power broker's momentarily perplexed, confused by this request, but he studies the photo and then politely replies, "No, I've never seen her before in my life. She a friend of yours?" That is not the answer Dragon wanted to hear. So he slams power broker's head into the wall, frustrated, yells, "Damn it." Another dead end. As the onlookers are shocked by this outburst, and Dragon's like, "What?" Anyway, this fight is seemingly at its end. We go to recover their friends like Prism, who is laying unconscious there, and ask if he's okay. He says, "More than you can know," kind of menacingly. So we have a fantastic payoff for this. He blasts his friends with his eye lasers and commands them to die. So what would cause this change in personality? Well, if you remember from Graphic Fantasy in Prism's origin story, that diamond body was originally inhabited by an evil sorcerer named Antaka. And he was dormant in this story here, kind of sharing the Prism body with Ben, but now he has made himself known. Larsen isn't going to miss an opportunity to pay off a decades-old plot thread, so now Antaka returns. You can tell with this black word balloons there. Excellent touch on the lettering again. Then it's over to Chicago to check in with the robotic Rex Dexter and Battle-Girl. Progress on the new portal to Dimension X is stalled because of a missing component. They need some Empyrean domination catechus. No clue what that is, but Dragon can maybe find one on his travels abroad. Back to Seattle, it's Dragon versus Prism. So the Centurions are down for the count. It's up to the Dragon to stop Antaka. Easier said than done. Dragon getting rocked by a diamond punch to the jaw. Then a building collapses on top of him, which frees the power broker. And this guy, he tries to make friends with Antaka. He's like, hey man, you're an evil sorcerer. I'm a super powerful dude. We should take over the world together maybe. Prism thinks about this for a split second. Then says die and shoots a laser beam right through this guy's head. A pink mist. Not a good look for the power broker. So everyone is down. But who should approach now? None other than Karen, the fiance/secretary of Ben Palmer. And it looks like Antaka's about to make some more pink mist. But hey, Dragon saves the day just in time. Face planting this dickhead into the ground. And the momentary distraction allows Ben Palmer to regain control, expelling Antaka from the body of Prism, ending this horrible battle. So luckily the good guys have survived. Everyone recovers. And Dragon decides it's time to get the hell out of town. All right, last page of the main story. Firelord here, that asshole with the horns on his head. He has reformed the Devil Dogs, and he wants a bloodbath, the likes of which Chicago has never seen. And he especially wants the Liberty League dead. So a pretty good 20 pages of comics. Lots to chew on there and ponder where it goes from here. But, of course, there's another backup feature to cover. Finding Nirvana by Freak Force favorite Vic Bridges. Inks, colors, and letters by Mark Englert and Eric Larson, script doctor. So we haven't seen anything by Vic in a while, but apparently he sent this in out of the blue, and Larson liked it enough to put it in print. Interesting story of Chelsea Nirvana, the daughter of Mighty Man archenemy Dr. Nirvana. Well, Chelsea's had an interesting few years, as retold here. So she was in prison, able to secure a reduced sentence if she volunteered for a dangerous government program, think kind of like Suicide Squad. And she's given a power boost and sent to take on the enemies of the United States. And this upgrade turns Chelsea into a redhead with a familiar costume. Shades of Johnny Redbeard way back in issue 26. Not a critical reference, but, you know, if one of those things is kind of fun for those who got it. Just like her opponent here that Chelsea must face, this four-headed thing that looks a lot like the Thing. These two powerhouses, they go toe-to-toe, causing maximum collateral damage in the fight. So Chelsea wins the battle, but at what cost? Apparently people died in the buildings that fell during the fight. Chelsea can't deal with the guilt. So now she's going to use what she's learned to teach young superpowered students. Maybe start Dr. Nirvana's School for Gifted Youngsters. But we'll never know. This is the last appearance of Chelsea Nirvana. And this Sylvia girl, who has like a metal skin and can transform into other objects and fly. Pretty cool stuff, but nothing ever comes of it. So over here is the pinup of the Dragon and the gang from the Rock House Diner. This might have been an alternate cover, but I'm not sure. It does not say. All right, so that just leaves Fanatics. A few things to cover, including Larson up top here, apologizing for the delay. He says this one took a couple extra months due to circumstances beyond his control, which is why he brought on a second letterer to help with the workload. And he says Tom Orzechowski will return next month as the solo letterer. And what else? We got other stuff to cover. We got some fan letters here with reaction to issue 133, like this one from Jeff Dwyer. He says, in a backhanded compliment here, he says, like, I love the new sketchy-looking art style. It looks like the images flowed effortlessly from Larson's pencil, like a kid drawing at the kitchen table. All right, so Larson replies, you'd be amazed how much time and effort and preparation it takes to make this stuff look so spontaneous and effortless. I do tend to gravitate toward styles which are less stiff and overworked, but it's only natural that my own efforts would go that direction. Honestly, I wish I had the balls to go looser, but there's always that lingering fear that it would be the final straw to drive the rest of the readers away. So I actually think Larson does go there in the future. If you've ever seen his work on Ant, I think it may be like the loosest artwork that Larson has ever published outside of, the sketchbook material, which actually they do have some sketchbook material in here. So it's kind of interesting to compare sketch stuff to what ends up on the page, but that's probably where I would say he gets loosest at. Anyway, let's see, moving on to usual numbered list of questions. Over to Joe Torsavia, who laments the lack of editorial footnotes. Those little boxes that say like, see issue 100 for more details or whatever. Anyway, Larson explains, I generally go for whichever way the readers do. If readers want footnotes, I'll use footnotes. There really hasn't been much of a call for it. A good 20 years ago, footnotes fell out of fashion along with captions and thought balloons. It was an all-in attempt to make comic books look more like movies and seem less comic booky. Both Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns and Alan Moore's Watchmen influenced everything that was to follow, and their effect was widespread. Many comics stopped using sound effects as well, and ever since Savage Dragon 76, I've been making more of a concerted effort to use some of those old trappings that worked for so many years, but I've tried to listen to the readers along the way. When some of them complained that page numbers got in the way and made them too aware of when the story was ending, I ditched those. When readers bellyached about captions, I cut back on those. When they complained that footnotes were an annoyance, I stopped using those as well. The general consensus seems to be that a long-time reader will know when an event took place, so it's unnecessary, and that a new one won't have the comic book anyway, so it's not that helpful. With comic books being collected and reprinted, footnotes lose their meaning as well, because issue 121 is no longer issue 121, but like chapter 1 in book 24 or something. Mike Mignola uses a mess of them in Hellboy for a short while, and I found them to be very intrusive and annoying for some reason. But I can go either way. What are the rest of you thinking? Care to weigh in on the subject? Sure. So I would say that they're useful. They were useful at some point in the past. But whenever I find myself looking for context these days when I'm reading, I'll just go to the Savage Dragon wiki at savagedragon.com, and that's the best resource for any questions a reader may have. All right, so that is it for this one. We get a pinup of the dragon on back by Vasilis Gogzilis. I hope I got that right. Issue 137 is next. Adios.